Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Brothers Galucky, where we're just going through an MCU marathon, and right now we've reached the second film, the much forgettable Incredible Hulk, or not so Incredible Hulk, however you wanted to call it. Yeah, just set the tone of this podcast. What are your thoughts on this movie right off the bat?
Well, I think it's kind of universally agreed upon. Like, if you were to cut out one movie in the entire MCU, it would definitely be this one. So let that kind of speak for itself about this whole movie. I think it's fine. It's not my least favorite in the franchise. I will say, like, it's probably my least favorite in Phase One.
Hmm.
Like from Iron Man to Avengers, I'd say this is probably my least favorite one. But it has good moments and it has really great scenes involving Hulk and capturing his atmosphere, but it is incredibly forgettable and yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't help that a lot of the movies tend to ignore the events of this film, even like the big one, of course, being the fact that we don't have Edward Norton in any of the MCU movies going forward, where
Right.
he was famously recast as Mark Ruffalo, which I think is a much better casting choice than Edward Norton. You know, not to take away Edward Norton as an actor, I do like that guy quite a bit as an
Yeah.
actor. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess what's also interesting is that there's kind of been some sort of like I guess resurgence of interest in this film in the sense that there's some characters that have been returning from this film. Big one, of course, being General Ross. He made quite a few appearances during Phase Three, actually,
Hmm.
and we're getting a She-Hulk series that's going to feature the return of Abomination.
Very
So
nice.
there's that as well.
Is a
Um,
leader ever coming back? That's the big
that
question.
that is the big question. Who's to say? And yeah, just bouncing off of you. I mean, this is dumped on as the absolute worst MCU movie, like quite a bit. And even though I can understand that perspective in part,
Yeah.
I just find this so interesting that I can't help but enjoy it. In itself, it is a mediocre movie. There's nothing really special, but
There's
it's still, it's not hot trash or anything like that.
Oh no, no, no. Yeah, there's that's the thing. It's like the mediocre Marvel movies and there's a plethora of those. It's not like there's anything really bad about them. I mean, there's nothing that really like pisses me off about this movie. It's just
Mhm.
there's nothing tangible here. I mean, like even some of the Phase One movies that are still kind of universally definitely not to this degree, but like still aren't that beloved, like Iron Man 2 or Thor. I mean, they have like themes in there. Like Iron Man 2 is about, legacy, and Thor is about like, humanity and
Mhm.
learning to be a good man. This movie just doesn't have any of that. But
No.
what it does have, um, I do love the Hulk scenes in this movie. Like if it's pretty rare. There isn't too much Hulk in this movie, but like when he shows up, I mean, the movie just has a total blast and it just goes crazy. And I do love that, even to this day, even if it
Mhm.
is over the top, which it most certainly is. But I still love it for that. It it
Yeah.
doesn't care. It just goes for it.
Yeah. Let's talk about Edward Norton. Um,
Okay.
Upon rewatching this, I came to the conclusion that he's sort of a Neil Breen protagonist. I don't know how familiar you are with Neil Breen. You've seen some of the red letter media. Have you ever seen Rich Evans explaining Double Down, the movie Double Down
No,
with Neil Breen?
I haven't.
I don't know if they have it anymore because it unfortunately it features Max Landis, but
Hmm.
um, but yeah, it's I'm sure somebody re-uploaded it at some point, but regardless, Neil Breen's just this fascinating guy. He's a filmmaker that stars in his own movies. He thinks he's so awesome, not the character, Neil Breen. And I get if you watch any clips of Neil Breen and you watch Edward Norton in this film, it's kind of a similar performance. I think the Incredible Hulk is like, I mean, it feels like Edward Norton is using this as a vehicle to demonstrate how awesome he thinks he is,
Yeah.
and it adds to the entertainment value, in my opinion.
Yeah. And based on I could be completely wrong about this, but based on my knowledge, like the reason why Edward Norton never came back is because he really tried to take control of this movie, or he tried to just
Hmm.
take matters into his own hands. Again, could be completely wrong on
I
that,
think
but
he's a producer on this movie, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look this up real
yeah,
quick. I think he is a
okay.
producer.
But yeah, he tried to take matters into his own hands, and it got too wild, and so he was replaced with Mark Ruffalo. But like, I could totally see that with him just trying to demonstrate his awesomeness in this movie.
Yeah, and I'm not seeing it on Wikipedia, but let's see. Edward producer. I could have sworn he was at some point. I'm probably making it up.
Yeah,
Never mind. But regardless, but yeah, no, I can't decide. You know, honestly, I think my thing with this movie is that I can't decide if I'm ironically enjoying it or legit enjoying it. Like on my recent viewing of this film, I lean more towards legit, if I'm being totally honest, because I think the Hulk scenes, like you said, are really good, and I like one of my favorite sequences of the movie is actually not a Hulk sequence. It's actually the chase sequence. I think that's a really fun action set piece, and I think it uses the environment really well.
yeah,
And the location itself, it almost becomes a character in and of itself. There's like really tight corners and all that,
yeah,
and there's this like he jump like they use like a lot of cool neat tricks with its
yeah.
cinematography, and it's actually a legitimately enjoyable movie for the most part.
See,
And I will say, yeah, go ahead.
for me, I'm kind of the other way around. Like, for the most part, that scenario is one that I actually did legitimately enjoy. But for the most part, I kind of like, I would say, ironically enjoyed this movie, especially in the final section, because that's when it gets really crazy. Um, when you introduce Abomination and his addiction to Hulkness, and then it just gets really crazy, and it's fun to watch, but it's not like
Mm.
oh yeah, this is awesome. And I mean, there's a lot of great fun finales in the MCU. Like, compare this to, I don't know, like Endgame's finale, which just has everything come full circle. And then you have an Incredible Hulk finale, which is just Madman is addicted and wants to be a monster, and Hulk stops him. And it's crazy fun, and it's ironic that I like that. I do agree with you on the chase sequence though. I think that was a really great sequence, and that transitions into the first like
Uh,
actual Hulk sequence.
yeah, the
I thought
warehouse
was really
sequence.
well done. Because
Or
you
not
don't actually
warehouse,
see
bottle
the Hulk
factory.
until like the end of that sequence,
Hmm.
which I thought was a pretty nice reveal, especially
Yeah.
since the CGI has not aged well in this
Oh,
movie.
yeah, that was gonna be my next point. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, it's aged terribly, but that's the thing. I think it kind of adds to the entertainment value for me.
Yeah,
Yeah, it delves between, I think on the whole, I think it delves between a serious drama and an over the top stupid schlock so much that in the end I can't help but like it. It's a weird, out of place installment in this massive film universe, and
hmm,
as much as I don't think it's one of the best MCU films, I actually prefer this over quite a few films actually. I'm glad it exists.
yeah. Um, there's not many films I prefer this over, but uh, that's definitely the weakest aspect of the movie for me. It's that whenever there's a sequence with Bruce and Betty, I
Oh
lose
yeah,
attention to the film entirely.
yeah.
It's Marvel does a pretty decent job when handling these relationships. We've talked about Tony and Pepper already, and that for the most part remains consistently strong. Steve and Peggy is very heartwarming, and there's a lot of great stuff. This one, I couldn't do it.
I think it's
It's
Liv Tyler. I think she's just so bland.
yeah.
It's, I mean, between this and her performance in Armageddon, geez, come on.
Oh, I just realized that she was in Armageddon. Holy crap.
Yeah, yeah, she's
I
in
I knew
Armageddon.
she looked familiar. I'm like, I knew
Yeah,
I've seen her
with Ben
before. I'm like,
Affleck.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that the love interest is not particularly strong at all. And frankly, I'm glad that she has not made a reappearance in anything, any capacity in
Or
the
even
MCU.
even a reference from this
No.
point on. Like she's been silenced.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, I mean, we'll talk about, Bruce and Natasha later on, but
Hmm.
the fact that Betty is not even remotely referenced at all. The only real reference there is in Age of Ultron, the Hulkbuster is referred to as Veronica, right?
Hmm.
Now, it's a reference to Archie comics where Archie there's Betty and then there's Veronica. That's the
Uh,
only real reference to Betty Ross since
but
then. But other than
even
that,
then, it's not a direct reference.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's one of those things you either know it or you don't.
Yeah.
Let me think. Is there any, this yeah, this is gonna be a really, really short discussion because I'm running out of things
Yeah.
to say.
We're
Unlike Thor
we're
and Age of Ultron, I'm
just a
running
bit
out of
over
things
10
to
minutes in,
say.
and we're almost done already.
I know. Um, I mean, let's talk about I think it's interesting that when they were kickstarting the MCU, Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, they were actually expecting the Incredible Hulk to be the much more successful film compared to Iron Man because the Hulk at the time anyway was a more recognizable character than Iron Man was, and the Hulk already had a movie that
Yeah.
was interesting in its own way, but and in this film has much more references to future MCU stuff. It's got more Easter eggs and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But surprisingly, it was Iron Man that was such a huge hit. And it's the reason why, and we'll discuss this in the next video, why Iron Man 2 was rushed into production so quickly because of how successful the first Iron Man movie was.
Yeah.
And then how they wanted to put in more Avengers Easter eggs in Iron Man 2. But for this film, we get quite a few connections to future stuff.
Yeah.
Or even past stuff if you want to refer to Iron Man as a past project at that point, which it technically is by a month. I
Hmm.
mean, there's references to Shield. Obviously, we have the big thing is I don't even know how to describe this credit scene. It's not technically a post-credit scene because it's
Is it a
before
pre-credit scene?
I guess it's a pre-credit scene. As far as I know, I think it's the only one in existence for the MCU. Am I
Oh,
wrong?
what about the Guardians movies? Because the credits never like officially roll for those. Like they have like one little sequence before like the major credits, but
Yeah.
like the
I don't
movie
know.
ends, it says Guardians of the Galaxy will return, and then there's a sequence.
I would say I would classify the dancing baby Groot as a sort of mid credit scene, almost, but it's debatable.
Yeah,
And I
I,
can't
I
remember
would I would probably put that in pre-credit scene, but
I don't
actually, I
know.
guess another one that you could probably argue is like the ending of the first Captain America,
Wait, what
like
happened in there?
when I don't know if it like there's a clear cut between
Are
him
you
crashing
talking
the
about?
plane and him waking up.
Are you talking
I,
about after you see the kids playing with the
yeah,
garbage cans you're
and then
saying
Steve
that?
wakes up
See, I don't know if I would classify that as a credit scene at
because
all. I
yeah,
feel like
because that also feels like an actual ending. This
yeah,
is definitely
exactly.
like an
It's
added
not quite
scene.
like Return of the Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, where there's multiple endings.
Yeah.
There is it does feel like it's a definitive ending to that film,
Hmm.
but and I can't remember the exact way the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 played out their credit scenes, because there's like 5 of them in that
There's fun,
film.
but it starts off the same way where it says Guardians of the Galaxy will return, and then it has Sean Gunn's character whistling
Oh,
Yondu's
that's
arrow.
right. That's right. I forgot that was the first one in that film.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. But as for the pre-credit scene for the Incredible Hulk, we get a Robert Downey Jr. cameo, and he says to General Ross that we're putting a team together. Who's we? And I got to say, I think this is the one point where Marvel didn't quite know what they were doing yet.
Yeah.
So it's a little vague, and I got to say, I think it's deliberate. Like Marvel doesn't even know what they were doing at that point yet. But I think by Iron Man 2, I think they started to have a better idea of where it's all going to go.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, it's like, yeah, well, who's we? That's a legit question that they had.
Who's we? I mean, I don't know if I'd go that far, because you do get like we're starting the Avengers Initiative, and Nick Fury said that in the first Iron Man. Obviously, they have an Avengers project in mind at that point.
Yeah, but we didn't mention this in the first when we were talking about Iron Man, but there was a recent release that had all the MCU movies together, and there's like an all new bonus disc with all new like bonus material. And originally, there's the original version of that Nick Fury scene from Iron Man where he references the X-Men and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So, granted, that was at a state of flux where like anything could have happened at that point, given like, the different studios and all that.
Yeah. And then
so I'm sure they had all sorts of different ideas of where things could go if they were able to get the rights to certain properties. And if they didn't, then they could just go their own way with the rights that they already had.
But now we're back in an era where anything can happen.
Yes, exactly. Now that Disney owns Fox and they own Spider-Man, sort of.
Deleted scene that's been
there's that as well, yeah.
At this point where you like very briefly see Cap's shield or Cap himself. But
I think it's his frozen body.
Yeah.
It's an interesting, but that deleted scene is referenced in the Avengers, funnily enough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where he tries to like kill himself.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the other reference in the Avengers is how the Hulk broke the Bronx.
Yeah. And also it has Banner, able to control the Hulk now. Which
that is true, which is
in the future.
Yeah, that the thing that's set up at the very end of the movie before the pre-credit scene. Anything? I think I guess in conclusion for me, since I'm really running out of things to say about the Incredible Hulk, which I guess is a testament to how the movie is as a whole.
Yeah.
It's a good cast all around, with perhaps the exception of Liv Tyler. She's probably the only real detractor from that. The final fight is pretty good. It's pretty fun. There may be some slow parts, but I think as a whole it does feel inconsequential. Like I agree. Like I think if you weren't forced to watch every MCU movie, you could totally skip the Incredible Hulk and you wouldn't miss much at all.
Mm-hmm.
Any closing statements from you?
I think I've said everything at this point. It's mediocre at its best. It's fun. And its Hulk sequences, not when it tries to get dramatic and serious, that's definitely not the movie's strong suit. Stanley cameo is great. That's one of my favorites.
I love the Stanley cameo, actually. He flat out dies.
But not really. All of the cameos are connected.
That's true. I forgot about that. I guess one more thing while I'm thinking about it. One thing I do appreciate about this movie is how they actually explain the origin in the opening credit sequence.
Yeah, you don't get that too much.
Yeah, if they were trying to make the origin a part of the plot, it would take up it would make the movie much longer.
Yeah.
like the origin itself would probably be like a whole hour and just be boring, I would
Hmm.
imagine. So I think they made the right call, and I think, frankly, um, I think Spider-Man: Homecoming should have done a similar thing. Not to jump way too ahead with Homecoming, but I think,
At the very least, it should have had an Uncle Ben reference. At the very least, but
dude, the
oh
fact
well.
that Zack Snyder's Justice League has more of an acknowledgement of Uncle Ben than the MCU does is just pathetic.
Man.
I hope everyone that's listening knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I guess spoilers if you haven't seen it.
um, yeah, I think that is it. I don't think I have much else to say about the Incredible Hulk, other than I remember when Bruce Banner ate a flash drive. That
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
I mean, I guess other Easter eggs. I'm thinking about it right now. There's lots of Easter eggs in this movie, surprisingly.
mhm,
There's a Lou Ferrigno cameo, which is
very
fun.
nice.
Who, of course, famously played the Hulk in the '80s live action series, and it's
Hmm.
Lou Ferrigno. He's quite a guy. You saw him in person one time, right?
Uh, I yeah, I think I did. Yeah.
Yeah, weren't you at a
It
Dragon
was
Con?
it was a Dragon Con a couple years ago, and I think he was in the parade. Um, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen him before.
Yeah, and you saw Stan Lee as well. I think it was that same parade, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was the same one.
I'm jealous because I was not at that parade that year.
Which means I've seen Stanley twice in my existence.
Yeah. Oh,
Very
fun
cool.
fact. Both of us, including our other brother and our dad, we met Stan Lee at Atlanta Comic Con in 2014. We got a picture taken with him. I got to touch Stanley. Um, and yeah, good times.
Hmm.
I miss conventions.
Yeah, me too. Um, or is that it? I mean, we're
This is like the Return of the King. There's multiple endings to this.
yeah,
All
this podcast.
right, but I think now this is the definitive ending.
Okay.
I
Oh,
think.
do you want to give it a score? Because we gave the
Oh
first one a
yeah,
score, so
I will give this a. I'm gonna go with a 6 out of 10.
okay. I'm probably gonna go with a 5,
All right.
right in the middle for me.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, not as good as, and I guess if we're gonna rank the MCU films as well, since this is the second film, we could do this now. Yeah, obviously below the first Iron Man movie.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
And like I said, that's definitely universally agreed upon.
Is there anyone out there that thinks the Incredible Hulk is better than Iron Man?
I
I'd love to know.
I
I
don't think
genuinely love to
so. I
know.
mean, I don't know, maybe like real Hulk fanatics. Like if Hulk is your favorite superhero and for that reason alone, this is your favorite MCU movie, I guess. But
Or better yet, is there anyone out there that not only likes this over Iron Man, but thinks this is probably the best Phase One movie? Is there anyone out there that has that opinion?
I don't know. I can do some research, but I doubt I'm ever gonna find that.
Well, if anyone's listening to this and you or know someone that has that opinion, sound off below because I'm curious.
Alrighty.
Now is this the ending?
I think this is the ending. I think we've made
Okay.
it.
All right. Yeah, I've got nothing else to say about the Incredible Hulk, so we can finally move on